Here we are with the final daily discussion. We are working off of a couple hours of sleep, so we got up really early to watch the final with a lot of excitement, and a pack of fruit snacks to fuel us through. It is storming here in LA, so there is a lot going on. But Tobin, will you start with sharing general thoughts on the World Cup final?
Wow, we have a winner.
We have a winner.
A first-time winner. A champion. Well done to Spain.
Wow,
what an overall amazing tournament. Well done to Japan, who beat them 4-0.
So let's start with England. What do you think went wrong?
Well, I'll just start with like the game started with so much energy. Mm-hmm. Both teams had chances. I mean, England hit the post. There were two really good chances for Spain. And I was like, wow, what a dynamic. This is going to be amazing. And then Spain scores in the first half. And then I kind of was like left wanting more. Mm-hmm. Like I wanted an England goal. I wanted a Spain comeback. Like I wanted more time. And I felt like it was a bit anticlimactic in the end.
Yeah, so like generally finals don't feel that open and free as the beginning did. But then the last couple of rounds, there's been like 3 goals, like different energy shifts. And then we were sort of just like waiting for that, waiting for England to equalize or waiting for Spain to take the lead. And it was actually kind of calm.
Yeah, I wouldn't say like calm. I would say more like disruptive to the point of, especially the second half, like with all the fouls, like I felt like it was pretty disruptive, and I don't think England ever like kind of got to come back, even after the penalty save that Mary made, which was a phenomenal moment.
Mary,
I love those
moments.
We love you, Mary. But
you would
after that, we didn't get what we wanted from that moment, right?
Yeah, you would think that like a disruptive second half would lean itself to England, but it didn't really.
Yeah, let's go through England, because I think this is one, Serena, everybody was just like Serena this whole entire tournament, and rightfully so. Incredible manager. Her players speak so highly of her. But look, I feel like as a manager, you would be going through a lot in your head right about now in terms of
like looking
decisions.
Back. Yeah,
and I mean, like, it was an interesting tournament for England because they never really like fully like played like the team that we saw like in the Euros, which was okay, right? Because they were showing a very strong mentality. They were progressing through the tournament.
Okay, wait, let's break this down. So Kira Walsh gets injured in early stages, and they move from a 4-back to a 3-back.
Yes.
They then, even when she gets back healthy, she's inserted back in, and they keep the 3-back.
Yes.
And then at halftime of this game, for the very first time, they move into a 4-back.
Yes.
And what do you think of that decision, in just that decision about the shape of the team?
It's tough because when you do that, you also have to change personnel. Mm-hmm. It's not just a formation change.
But she did change personnel.
Yeah, she did. So she took out, and I want to know, I want answers for Rachel Daly, who's one of their best players. I want to know why she came out. Like, for me, there's only one reason, and that's she picked up an injury. Mm-hmm. That was a big one. And then Les, like Russo, like, I think it was a moment, right? You go into halftime 1-0, right? And I think Serena's been very steady the whole tournament with her decision making. Mm-hmm. She hasn't ever kind of been very like rash or flustered, and she showed a lot of trust in her players and their abilities. And I feel like you go in 1-0, not a terrible half. I expected, come out and play a little bit more. Like, go in, reassure your players. It's 1-0. Like, we expected to score in the final. Let's make this 1-1. And then let's get a little creative.
Yep.
In your decision making.
I felt exactly the same. I felt like the drastic nature of the changes signaled like a little bit of insecurity. Mm-hmm. And if you're saying like, oh, they beat Spain in the Euros and they were in a different shape, and if that was in her head, then that you need to start the game with, because shifting halfway to me says I'm second guessing myself.
Yes, and I think the Lauren James dilemma
It was a tough
actually
dilemma.
was tough, you know,
Yeah.
almost, and like, she's a special player, right? Like, we know from playing with her. But in this moment, you almost wish it was a three game ban, because that automatically shuts off that option for you. But because it was a 2 game ban for the red card, it always was this optionality that felt hard, right? It felt like just another decision that she had to make.
But I will say that the moments that you reacted strongest in the match were generally LJ getting out of like a ridiculous amount of pressure.
LJ?
So we were glad that you were in the final, LJ.
I mean,
beautiful
joy.
Game. Yeah.
But I will say then it was interesting because I felt like there were some good changes that happened in the second half. Like, they went to a double 9. They threw up Millie Bright. And in that moment, the thing that works with, you go to a double 9 to get service into the box. I think that they went to that formation and they probably got one cross into the box during that time. And for me, that's just poor execution of a tactical change. Like, every single ball at that point should have been going into the box. And I'm convinced with the players that they had in the game at that moment that they're going to get a scrappy goal off of that. But they didn't put that pressure on the back line. And look, it was disjointed. They were fouling, all these things. But in my mind, there was a tactical change that then wasn't... they didn't execute it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's shift gears and talk about our champions. Spain, now maybe the 5th ever country to win Women's World Cup, and one of 2 countries to have won men's and women's.
That's really cool.
Germany and Spain.
I heard that. It's really, really cool.
And I think it's kind of interesting because it's to me, there's this shift that's happening in the conversation about, you know, the dominance of the U.S. women's national team stemming from our country investing more in women and like accepting women in sport because of Title IX and the collegiate program. And in the last 10 years, a shift of Europe being like, okay, we'll have women play too.
Yeah.
But they already have the infrastructure there to make such rapid change and growth.
Yeah, it doesn't take a lot. And you look at the succession, I think you stated that their first World Cup was in 2015.
They didn't qualify before that. So this is their 3rd World Cup and they won.
And then you look at the 2 biggest clubs in Spain, in Barcelona and Real Madrid, and the amount of players that are coming out of those 2 clubs that are obviously ginormous, like, world powers in football. It takes nothing, and look what they've gotten from just giving a little bit of investment to those structures. It's incredible. I saw a stat, even if you add up the English players that play for Barcelona, that Barcelona could have fielded a whole team for the final.
I know. And you know what? I don't know the ins and outs of the dynamic of the Spanish Federation and the club system, but what it feels like to me is the national team is benefiting from investment that's happening at a club level. Because even if you look at the salaries of the players on Barcelona, they're the highest paid players in the world.
Yeah.
So there is a path for professionalism in Spain, and the national team kind of just scooped that up and won a World Cup with it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I think that then the biggest X factor too is, you know, Barcelona winning Champions League, so figuring out how do you win something, how to win, and then the other thing is having an icon. Alexia Putellas is literally such an important figure to the Spanish team because we've all had them. We had our Mia Hamm. This is for the first time their country has a role model for all these girls that are either playing with her or aspiring to be her, that they identify themselves in her. And if she's not part of this team, even this team in the limited kind of minutes that she had, if she's not in this squad, this team doesn't win.
I love that. I think it's so important because it's belief. And even if you're, Bon Mati, like she's been playing alongside her for so long. And so all of a sudden you're like, hey, if she's the best player in the world, I'm pretty darn close.
Yeah.
It's not night and day. So I can do it.
Yeah.
And that belief actually showed. People want to talk about Spain just playing the beautiful game. Of course they do. Yeah. But what I think was more important was their resilience. Their determination. Yeah. They kept giving up leads on the way and then coming back and scoring.
You're spot on. I actually don't agree with what people are saying about Spain, about them like, oh, they keep the ball and it's so beautiful and all this stuff. Like, yeah, that like you're not watching what's winning if you're just watching them pass the ball. Mm-hmm. What's winning is not them passing the ball. Mm-hmm. That's always been part of Spain. Mm-hmm. We've played against Spain teams, passed way better than this team.
Yeah.
A lot more too. That's not what's winning them this World Cup.
What is? Capitalizing on chances.
Capitalizing, I mean, look at the Lucy Brown mistake that happened. Capitalizing on chances, belief coming from behind, knowing that you deserve to be there, that you deserve to win, that you have everything to win. And I think there's this generation that looked really brave. They looked very confident.
Yeah, I think that it was an incredible final, super fun to watch. You know, the first, second, and third place teams are all European. I think we know firsthand how a World Cup changes the game forever. Yeah. I think we're seeing a shift in the game that we're not going to be entirely sure about how it goes for years to come. But I think it's a really strong signal that, you know, it's two of the strongest leagues now in the world that have the majority of players playing in this final. And there was a big American absence of clubs, of NWSL players, making it through the tournament.
In the final.
So I think what we're going to be unpacking the impact of this World Cup for a while. But it was a joy. It was a joy to stay up at crazy hours and order pizza and kind of lose our minds and not know if it was morning or night and be in two different days at the same time for the last month because it was a fantastic tournament.